I want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Focus on Liberia, and this is our Saturday special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sie, and I am here today with a very important guest. That is the Deputy Minister for Technical Vocational Education and Training, Mr. Peter S. Bemah. I know he doesn't like the honorable name, so he said, my man, let go with P. That's okay for me. And so he's my guest today, folks. I'm happy to have him. He plays a very important role at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And like I said, he is the Deputy Minister for Technical Vocational Education and Training. And so will be going directly into his department for him to share with us the work that they are doing. And I got some tough questions for him. I guess he came prepared to answer them. And so, folks, we want to say welcome and welcome. Please help us by sharing the show. Sometimes Facebook put limit on us. So share the show, share with your friends, share with your neighbors, share it in any chat room you have a connection with so that we can hear from the minister. We want to make sure that the minister is not eating some free money and let him share with us the work that he has been doing at that agency of government. Mr. Bibman, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be on your platform.
All right, all right, all right. Peter Bimman there, 46, still with us yet. We want to hear from him. The department that he has plays a very important role in helping carry out the development agenda of our country, and we really want to hear from him to share with us what they have been up to in that particular department. But before we get started, we want to know who he is. He is my guest. He shared little with me, but not much. So, Mr. Biman, I guess my listeners want to know who is the Honorable Peter S. Bidman.
Well, thank you again, Anthony, and for this honor of inviting me to this very huge platform. My name is Peter Bemah, as you correctly stated, and I have the honor given unto me by His Excellency President George Manuel Weah to be serving as the Deputy Minister for Technical and Vocational Education and Training at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Been serving this position since 2018. I come to this position with a huge background in youth development work, youth-related work. In school, I served in many capacities, including president of my classes, two major classes, matter of fact, freshman class and the junior class. And then at some point, I became the interim president of the senior class of the AME Zion University, where I earned my bachelor degree in public administration. I have also served on the executive committees of the Federation of Liberian Youth and the Liberian National Student Union. My most prominent youth role in the country was serving as the first deputy speaker of the Mano River Union Youth Parliament. The Mano River Union Youth Parliament is an organization of youth advocates, peace builders who work together to ensure that peace and stability is maintained and sustained in the Mano River Union countries. So, and I've worked with a lot of different youth and student organizations before assuming that role. I have also worked with the Liberian Senate as a legislative research analyst with Senator Joe Howard Taylor. And before serving in that role, I was HR manager at a computer firm, the Trinity Computer Solutions. And, I just came through things. I have also served with the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Global Initiative, where I was selected among many young people in Liberia, the only Liberian who have been at the Clinton Foundation as yet, serve as a fellow there, a student, a commitment mentor, and an ambassador with the Clinton Foundation. Okay, and through that fellowship, I was opportuned to do certificate program at the George Washington University, in there in Washington D.C., um, where I got a certificate in conflict transformation, youth development. I also have a master's in legal studies from Drexel University in Pennsylvania. Uh, Currently pursuing a master's degree in public administration from the Cottington University Graduate School here in Liberia. All right. So that is just a very brief synopsis of my background, my education, and what I've come to the table with.
That is very impressive. Very good resume there for you. Tell me a little bit about family. Are you a family man? Are you married? Do you have kids?
I definitely am married. I'm married to my wife, Barbara
Okay.
Bemah, and we have 3 children.
Excellent. All right, Mr.
Yeah.
Bigman, we want to say welcome again and thanks for honoring our invitation. To you folks in cyberspace, it is important that we hear from the people who are running the affairs of our country, those who are held in the departments. We all know the problems in Liberia are many, and we can only solve them through our institutions. And so that is why here at Focus on Liberia, we have made the decision to go ministry by ministry to hear from the policy implementers, those who are doing the work day to day, to see what they're doing. And that's the way we'll understand whether or not our government is working for us. Today, we have Mr. Peter S. Bemah from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. He has the Department for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. So we want to know what they're doing there. So please stay with us. It is important that you know what your government is doing at that level of government. But Mr. Bimman, before we go into our topic for today, coronavirus comes to mind. Has there been any role, any contribution that your ministry is making in the fight against the deadly pandemic?
Thank you very much. What a great way to begin. Coronavirus is a pandemic that is real, and I'd like to start by saying that. And I hope that all of us, including the listeners, we are all taking the necessary precautionary measures to save ourselves, our family, and our loved ones. At the Ministry of Youth and Sports, where I worked, we have taken several measures to intervene, working under the supervision of Honorable D. Zilga Wilson, the Minister of Youth and Sports. And I can tell you that when the coronavirus pandemic was declared as being present in Liberia, the minister being very far-sighted, he structured a national youth task force on coronavirus. And that task force has been working very tirelessly with vulnerable groups, the vulnerable population, ensuring that they get the necessary food and other materials that they need during this period of stay home. We have been able to attract a lot of support from individuals of goodwill, including prominent among our supporters is the head of the Spoon Foundation, the Spoon Radio, and the Spoon TV, Mr. Witherspoon. Mr.
So, so,
Witherspoon has
so
been
if
there.
I may interrupt, what did Mr. Witherspoon give, and what are other things that you got from other sources, and who all did you give those things to?
Thank you. First off, the government of Liberia began by supporting this process. The very first package
Mhm.
of rice and oil, sardines, other food and non-food related items that were procured by the Ministry of Youth and Sports and distributed were were done with funding from the government of Liberia. Okay, that happened, and then we move on to working with partners. The minister has been working with partners. Like I said, prominent among those partners has been Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Witherspoon, in recent time, donated 800 bags of rice to uh, the district, the female legislators of Liberia. Okay, and that was done through the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Minister Wilson was entrusted with that responsibility to coordinate that process so that the 800 bags of rice can go to the vulnerable groups in the communities where those women are representing, especially communities in the rural areas. And quite recently, again, Witherspoon donated about 1,500 bags of rice. 1,500 bags of rice to 17 districts in Monterey County. Okay, so that distribution was done with the Ministry of Youth and Sports and other organizations, structures in those communities participating.
Okay.
Uh, we can also speak about contributions made by APM Terminal. APM Terminal has also donated a huge amount of rice that is being picked up by the ministry, and distribution for that to the communities and the vulnerable population, the disabled community, is being planned by the minister and the National Youth Task Force on Coronavirus.
And Peter, quickly before we conclude on this and go to our main topic, you continue to use the word vulnerable population. I know you mentioned the disabled. Beside the disabled being part of the vulnerable community population, who all constitute this vulnerable population you're talking about?
The vulnerable population includes our youth at risk,
Mhm.
the disabled community, including the physically challenged individuals. That includes a group of 77 and all of the different groups in and around Monrovia. The elderly, the old people, uh, the old folks home. So those are the population that the ministry have been reaching out to, and other communities that have been declared as having vulnerable people who needs to be reached to, especially places like West Point,
Mhm.
okay, where you have a lot of people who needs help from the government. We cannot do it alone. We cannot do it all by ourselves. But the minister started off by helping the government's national coronavirus effort, so that at least certain group of individuals can begin to get the kind of support that they need during this difficult period of our national history. We know that you and myself know that the government of Liberia has already started. The government has already started distribution, the national distribution and it started with vulnerable communities. So that was just an effort to enhance national government own effort that is making to help these communities.
All right, thank you. Let me fit there on coronavirus. You just made big news here that the Ministry of Youth and Sports has been contributing to the fight against the epidemic by, getting support from institutions, rice, other food items, and giving them to vulnerable population, which include the disabled, the elderly, the blind, and I think you said the disadvantaged or youth. You're talking about Zogo right there. Okay, thank you. Let's stop right there and let's go into our topic. Uh, You are the guy for technical and vocational education and training at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. That is why we brought you here. So, first of all, for the understanding of our listeners, your department that is called TVET. So, tell us when you say TVET, which is the technical vocational education and training. What does that mean? Those words are, juicy words, but break it down for us.
Thank you.
Mhm,
TVET, as you have already defined,
mhm,
is an acronym,
mhm.
and it stands for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. Okay, so TVET is that aspect of education, the education process that ensures that young people, elderly, and the rest of it utilize the use of technology and related sciences in the acquisition of skills. That means practical skills, to understand and gain the kind of knowledge relating to occupants in the various sectors of the economic life.
Okay.
TVET TVET is dispensed in both the informal and formal sectors in those establishments. So it is a tool that is used basically to ensure that certain individuals or sectors of our economy, of our country, that maybe they not go through the necessary formal education to better their life. TVET is is a sector that we use to empower those young people so that they can get the necessary training, so they can get gainful employment in the economy. So and it does not necessarily have to do with people who did not go to school, okay? Because the building of houses, the building of electrical machines, and all of that needs different calculations, different methods, different methodologies. So it's important that people who are involved with these things are trained, they get a necessary education to be able to work in this sector. So we deal with both informal and informal in the country in Tibet. Informal is done by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and the formal aspect is being dispensed by the Ministry of Education.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, folks in cyberspace watching us here, this is Focus on Liberia. This is our program, The Hour of Politics with me, Anthony C. But today we are not going too political. Our goal here is for us Liberians to understand the work of our ministries and agency. Not many of us do. And so we started with the Ministry of Youth and Sport. The last time we have the Deputy Minister for Youth Development, and today we are talking to the Deputy Minister for TVET, that is Technical Vocational Education Training. All right, so we want you to know, because if you know what are the roles and responsibility of your government in the very ministries and agency, then you will be able to hold them accountable. It can't be politics all the time, and people, you first need to know what your government is doing, what they're supposed to be doing. And then when you know what they're supposed to be doing and they are not doing it, then you are in the better position to hold them accountable. And so we want you to stay with us as we continue this interview. The minister is here. He went off a little bit, but I'm glad he came back very, very quickly. That is good for us. And so, Mr. Bemah, let's continue. So, how do you measure? I mean, what is the goal of TVET, and how far or close are you in hitting your target?
Okay, firstly, I'd like to say sorry. I think that if the disconnection happened from the internet,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
little
I know you
problem.
guys got proper internet. You're lucky we're not talking politics today.
Yes, so thank you for the question.
Mhm,
The goal, the overall goal of TVET
mhm,
is to provide the national economy
mhm.
with qualified and competitive workers
Okay.
trained citizens,
Mhm.
okay, so that these people are able to participate in the governance process, participate in sustainable growth and poverty reduction, and to ensure that it is done without discrimination. Okay, so in a nutshell, the goal of TVET is to ensure that young people, the elderly, gain access to employability and entrepreneurship. Because if these people are trained, if they are given the necessary education, they are able to, especially if it is done in a demand-driven way, they are they are able to get employment. They can be easily absorbed by the job market. So TVET fills that gap. Uh, fills that gap that is in the national economy. These young people, there are many of our young people who maybe for reasons of the civil crisis or other reasons did not make it to complete high school. They did not go through formal education. And these people they form part of the national discussion. They form part of the national governance process as well. They are citizens. They need employment. So the goal is to make sure that these citizens are trained, they are equipped, so that they can be absorbed in the economy as well.
I think that goal is a very realistic goal. Folks listening to us, any country should be able to train its citizens, especially the youth, to prepare them for national development and building because they need to be able to do something with their hands. They can't do it if they don't have the skill. That is a good goal. But the other part of the question actually was what has been your target and how close are you? Because in any case, your government had 6 years for your first time. So I'm assuming that you might have set a target already for that 6 year period. So how close are you to your target and what has been the target in the first place? Maybe 1 million people?
The target has been to reach to those who are far away, particularly in the rural areas.
Okay.
Okay, I would yes, because in the past, TVET has just been about training young people in the Monrovia area at BWI and its environs.
Mhm.
So right now, as a government, as a ministry, under the supervision of Minister Wilson, we are taking this thing here and working in concert with the Ministry of Education, because Ministry of Education is our strategic partner in this entire process. We are taking TVET to the people, okay, and that is why we have been able to reach out to the southeast, to reach out to Maryland, to reach out to Grand Crew, to reach out to Sano County. If you go to Grand Crew right now, there's a Grand Crew Vocational and Technical Institute that was just recently elevated by the legislature as a college, a Grand Crew Technical College. And
And
there's
and and
also
and, and, and that's my counter you're talking about, Peter. So where is it? I'm just hearing it. Where is it? Which town do you know?
yeah, it is in Barclayville.
Bagleyville. Okay.
It is in Barclayville, and the legislature just elevated the institution status to a technical and vocational college in that area. Okay, and also working with the European Union, because we have attracted $20 million in the TVET sector from the European Union, the Ministry of Education, and ourselves, and that money is being implemented by the United Nations system, UNIDO particularly. Um, we are reaching out to institutions, the multilateral in Sino, the multilateral institution in Zueju,
Israel. Okay.
a multilateral institution in Maryland, in Harper. Okay, so those are the institutions that this funding is going to reach out to ensure that these institutions are where there are some equipment and other things lacking.
And so
This
Peter, before you continue, you are the one directly in charge of this TVET program. So these major institutions that you listed, the one in Grand Crew, the one in Sino, the one in Maryland, and Grand Jita, have you had the opportunity to go there to see the status of the buildings? Do they have the necessary equipment? Just give me an accurate account of how things are in terms of these institutions being equipped, training and all that. Do you know?
Are you hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you, Mr. Beeman. Go ahead. I can hear you. Oh, I can't hear you now, Peter. Folks in cyberspace, for some reason, I cannot hear my guest at this time. Peter made some adjustment at your end. If somebody did call you, maybe, okay, you're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right, good.
this is strange. Even though we have internet issues, but it doesn't work like this. I don't know what's going on. Nobody called me, but the internet just fluctuated.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
maybe the data there, there are issues. The service providers are not happy. There's this news that you guys trying to take more money from them. So maybe they're trying to minimize the quality of the service to make profit. But let
Well,
go.
that is untrue, but we can leave that discussion for another day.
Another day, that's true. Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to know whether you have gone to see these institutions that you talk about in Grand Cruz, Sano, Grand Jide, Maryland, to know how they are in terms of their capacity.
Yes, working with the project people at UNIDO, we've been
Hmm.
able to assess all of these institutions: the
Hmm.
Sano Multilateral High School, the Zwedru Multilateral High School, the Kipamas Multilateral High School in Maryland. All of these institutions have been accessed, as well as BWI, that is right here in Kakata. Those institutions are benefiting. The Monrovia Vocational Training Center, the biggest vocational training center in Monrovia, is also part of that process. And Tottenham High. Okay, and since we are talking about this project now with the European Union, the Youth Rising Project,
Hmm.
uh, just recently there was an additional funding that was signed between the government of Liberia and the European Union, $12 million. There was uh, different packages of funding, but 12 million in that funding was targeted for TVET. And part of the distribution of that money, 6 million is going towards road maintenance. So we got to be able to diversify the training and everything that we do. We got to be able to do the training in a demand driven way. So the road maintenance training is going to be done by GIZ, the German agency in Liberia. So we need to empower young people who will take over from all of the expats that are here doing our roles. So those young people are a team of young people are going to be trained in road maintenance, and that is going to be done by GIZ. And the other 6 million of that money will go toward enhancing and revitalizing institutions like the Business and Domestic Occupational Training Center, as well as the Tumutu Agricultural and Vocational Training Center and the Habel Multilateral High School. So yeah, and we're also grateful to the Swedish, working with the Ministry of Education. We're also grateful to the Swedish for adding some funding uh, in that project, in the Youth Rising project for the Vonjaman Multilateral High School. 6 million was donated by the Swedish government
Hmm.
for the rehabilitation of the Vonjaman Multilateral High School. So, I mean, that has been the strategic focus of the Minister of Youth and Sports, our team at
I can hear you there.
both
Okay.
ministries to ensure these are properly equipped
Hmm.
uh, to meet to meet the needs
Hmm.
of the young people that should be getting the necessary training in those places.
So, earlier when you were talking about the road maintenance component of your training, you said you want to train young people so that they can be able to provide road maintenance services for the country. But you said will. So does it mean though there's funding being made available by the European Union, as you said, the project to start the training is yet to resume. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yes, so and, these things happen in phases.
Okay.
The funding has been signed between the government of Liberia, the Ministry of Finance, and
Mhm,
the European Union. That's the additional funding that I just spoke about.
mhm,
And then the next phase is the project development phase.
mhm,
I already listed the targets of the institutions.
mhm,
The institutions we are targeting: the Tumutu Agriculture Vocational Institute, the Haber Multilateral, and the Business and Domestic Occupational Training Center. So those are institutions. The project team will assess the needs of those institutions and see what specific interventions can be made. And we have already identified those interventions. We have to ensure that RCT, RCT is a strategic component in all of the work that we do in TVET, so that all of the institutions can be equipped with RCT equipment, RCT training, and the rest of it. So that is the strategic focus on that.
All right. So how do you measure success for the TVET program? How do you measure success? How do you get to know that, okay, we're making progress, we will hit our goal, or at least we'll hit it 80%? How do you measure that?
Well, Anthony, that's a great question. In the past, institutions in Liberia would do technical and vocational training. We graduate 300 people, 300 students per cycle, 1,000 here per cycle, 500 here per cycle.
Mhm,
But the employability, the employment aspect is
mhm.
lacking.
Right.
We continue to graduate and graduate and graduate, but these people are not being employed. So when we got to the ministry, it was important. We took it as a matter of importance to look at the number of young people that have been trained in TVET and what are they doing? Where are they? Where are these young people? Where are they? So we decided to begin a process of tracing these young people. So we conducted a little tracer study, call somebody graduates to a meeting,
Mhm,
especially those who are unemployed. And when we called a meeting, that was sometime actually in 2018. When we called a meeting, we expected like maybe 200 persons would come because of the late invitation. But we saw an onslaught of more than 3,700 young people.
mhm.
Okay, 3,700 young people came to SKD who have gone through TVET institutions, but they are yet unemployed. These people are unemployed. So what can we now do? What can we now do? What can we do is to ensure that we list those people, where they got their training and everything, so that we can liaise with government agencies and the private sector
Mhm.
and ensure that they get the kind of employment that they need. For instance, there are private companies here that are doing construction, that are doing road maintenance. Okay. And most of these people are taking people who may not be trained in the sector.
Okay.
So we are working with them. We tell them, like, look, we have young people who are trained to help you, who are trained to do these things. It is important that you work with those people who are trained. And we are getting the kind of answer that we need. Okay. So the measurement of success is to ensure that after these people get their training, it's not just to let them go. We have to make sure we see them actually working and doing the things that they learn. When we see that, then we know that, as a government, we are succeeding in what we are doing. We cannot just
Yeah, go ahead. In your thought there. Are you with me? All right. That is a very good way to mention success. You don't want to just train somebody and say bye bye. You try to uh, be sure. that you're not only offering training, but that training lend them the opportunity, be employment or self-employment, and that's why you're trying to ensure that is a good thing. Folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony here hosting. It is our program, The Hour of Politics, but today is now more of politics. It's about understanding the work of the Ministry of Youth and Sports in its TVET department. TVET is the Technical and Vocational Education and Training. Peter Bemah has just fallen off again. He's having some internet issue, but I'm sure he will come by because he did before. So while we wait for the minister, let me bring in a caller here. I have a caller here who is an educator. So I think his interest is in the roof right now, and I would like to have him here. The man, Mr. Sisi Goya, is on the line. Mr. Goya, this is your area, my man. Welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Appreciate that, my brother Anthony. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to have you. Yeah, so quickly, while we wait for the minister to come by.
I was hoping the minister would be on here to hear my input, but technology being what it is, that's fine.
Yeah.
There are a few things I wanted to raise with the minister. First thing I was trying I was going to ask him whether he sees the duality or the plurality in the job that the Ministry of Youth and Sport is trying to do with respect to TVET. Because TVET technically should be completely and wholly under the Ministry of Education, because it's education. Whether it's technical, it's the education. Right. And so the Ministry of Education vets the teachers, vets the curriculum, vets everything. And so what is the youth and sport doing? Because if he's telling me that the youth and sport is involved because of youth, I will argue that most students in Liberia are youth. Right. And so that, I think, is a duality of jobs. And so when you listen to the Honorable Minister, all he's talking about is how they are getting funding and who is carrying out what. He's not telling you what the youth and sport is actually involved in doing, because the work is being done by the Ministry of Education. So this is the duality of role. The second piece is he talked about technical vocational schools like the multilaterals. Right. So full disclosure, I am the vice president of the Federation of Lo-Fi Associations in the Americas, the National Lo-Fi Association. I know for a fact that we are undertaking a technical vocational training program in Lo-Fi County at the technical college, where he talked about at the multilateral. That is not the work of the government. We, as private citizens, we have earmarked to raise $70,000 to construct our own technical vocational training center. Right. So this is not the work of the Ministry of Youth and Sport. They should not claim credit for that. So I wanted to be on to put that on to let folks know that people should not be claiming credit for stuff they're not doing. And if you listen, Lo-Fi County has had one of the largest multilateral. If you look at where all of the funds are going, they are going everywhere else but to the Lo-Fi County multilateral. And that is where the citizens of Lo-Fi County in the United States have come together to raise our own money to construct our own technical vocational college. The last piece I wanted for the Honorable Minister. Yeah.
The minister is back with us now, so you can address your concerns with him so that he can speak to that.
Anthony, I'm so sorry right, for going off this internet.
It's okay. We understand proper internet, but I have a caller on the line, Mr. Sisi Goya. He's a teacher by profession. He's rooted in education, and so his interest has been sparked, and he got some concerns. So listen to him, and you can respond. Go ahead, Mr. Goya.
So, Mr. Bemah, I appreciate you. I appreciate the time. I know how frustrating it can be when you have to be online in your line drop. So I appreciate your consistency of coming back. My name is Sisi Goya, like Anthony said, and I'm a math teacher here in the United States. So I have a few questions for you. The first one is, do you not see the duality or the plurality of the work that you're doing when it comes to technical vocational institutions? Because that should be wholly the work of the Ministry of Education. because education should be completely under the purview of the Ministry of Education. So whether it's technical, whether it's community college, whether it's university, whether it's high school, it should be completely under the Ministry of Education, because they deal with everything that has to do with curriculum, with instruction and everything. And so for me, my question is, do you not see the duality in their role? Because I listen to all of the work you talk about you're doing, and everything that the Ministry of Youth and Sport is doing has to do with overseeing. When you talk about all of the programs in all of those other places, there's nothing technical that you're doing except for overseeing. Having said that, the next piece was about the issue of multilateral colleges, multilateral high schools around the country. And my point I wanted to make here is that the technical vocational institution that was already breaking ground for in Lofa County is not the work of the government. It is the work of the Federation of Local Associations in the Americas. I am the national vice president of that organization. We are raising our own $70,000 independent of the government to build that TVET. So government should not be claiming credit for stuff like that when they have not participated or partnered on any level with that. And then the last part I wanted to raise here is when you talk about placement of graduates with a private institution. I think you have this thing backwards. I understand that you're trying to mitigate what happened with those that have already graduated with placing them. I think it would be advisable if you find TVETs that specialize in certain areas, and then you find private organizations or private businesses that need those workforce. And so then what you do is you train those students specifically on the tools, on the instruments that those places use, so that when they graduate, they are expedient. They are indispensable to those organizations because they work on the tools that those organizations use instead of first waiting for them to graduate and then finding places for them to replace. Having said that, I will get off the call and listen to your answer offline. But I really again want to say I appreciate you as a young man for working for the people of Liberia and for taking the time to be on today.
Thank you, Mr. Goya. All right, Mr. Bemah, you can speak to that, and then we'll continue our interview.
Thank you very much. I don't know, what he means when he talk about the duality of our intervention. So I started off by stating clearly that the Ministry of Youth and Sports works in partnership with the Ministry of Education. So in the dispensation, in dispensing TVET, there are two sectors, the formal sector and the informal sector. So the Ministry of Education takes care of the formal TVET sector. That is the TVET that happens in the high school, in the multilateral institutions, in universities, and what have you, in the formal setting. We at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, we deal with the TVET in the informal sector. Okay, the Monrovia Vocational Training Center is under the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and that is the institution, that is one of the institutions that work in the informal sector. Okay, the Tumutu Agriculture and Vocational Training Center that I spoke about is also a training center that is informal, and it is under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Other agricultural training institutions, the Youth Agriculture Training Center that is in Bensonville in Montserrat County, is also an informal institution. Okay, the Clay Agriculture and Vocational Training Center that is in Bensonville, as well as the Julia Jua Vocational Training Center, the Business and Domestic Occupational Training Center. They are those are just the public informal training institutions. But there are many other informal institutions in the private sector. Okay, so let's get it clear that the Ministry of Education has the informal TVET and we have the formal TVET. And to be able to work in the TVET sector, those two ministries have to work together, especially when funding is coming for intervention in the TVET sector. He also talked about claiming credit for the vocational institution in Lofa County. I'm not sure which vocational institution they are building in Lofa County, but I was specific about the Vonjama Multilateral High School. Vonjama Multilateral High School. There's an institution that has been shattered, an institution that basically lacks everything on the technical side. And even the physical infrastructure, the building, all those things need some renovation, rehabilitation, and what have you. So the Swedish intervention, the 6 million that has been given by the Swedish government.
Mr. Bemah, thanks for
Yes.
addressing that. But before you get to the Swedish funding, I want to know when you say formal and informal. I know you said the Ministry of Education takes care of the formal aspect of it, and you are doing the informal. So, I mean, I told you this interview is for Liberians to understand what you do. All right. So, what is informal? What is the informal sector that you are taking care of? Explain to us.
Okay, so let me start with the formal sector.
Mhm.
The formal sector is the formal TVET is the TVET that happened in the formal setting, in the academic institutions
Okay.
where where these young people are in high school. In some of the high schools, from ninth grade, you start to take technical courses,
Mhm.
until you graduate from high school.
Okay.
So that is the technical, that is the formal side.
Informal.
The
Okay.
informal side of TVET has to do with absorbing these young people who are either illiterate or semi-literate, to some sort of training
Mhm.
to better themselves. Those young people who did not go to school, the elder did not go to school, or they did not complete high school, they did not complete sixth grade,
Mhm.
those are also part of the citizenry.
Okay.
So we have to get some programs working for these people to get some training to better themselves.
Right.
So those are the people that we cater for as a Ministry of Youth and Sports. And everything we do, whether it is curriculum development, curriculum harmonization, and the rest of it, all those things are done in concert with the Ministry of Education. Okay, with the Ministry of Education. And I understand when he talk about the duality, sometimes things get confusing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the the TVET system in Liberia is a little fragmented. Let's use that language. It's
Mm-hmm.
a little fragmented. So uh, trying to find some intervention mechanisms to fix the fragmentation, we as a ministry, we have started to propose the two ministries together, Ministry of Youth and Sports and the Ministry
Right.
of Education.
Mm-hmm.
Together, we are proposing a TVET commission, a TVET body. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is the body that is going to be responsible for all governance aspect of TVET in the country.
A TVET
Whether
in the country.
whether it is
Mm-hmm.
whether it is curriculum development, curriculum harmonization, qualification framework, name them. So we have one body that takes care of everything. And why this
And Peter, that would that include that the institutions that you are using to implement the TVET program will be under the direct supervision of this commission when established. Is that a goal as well?
Okay, so that is part of the consultations that we are having now, as because for these things to happen, there are stakeholders that we have to consult with.
Mm-hmm.
The question you just raised is a critical question,
Mm-hmm.
and those things will have to be considered by stakeholders in the legislature as well.
Okay.
What are the functions
Mm-hmm.
of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, functions of supervising these institutions that are currently under the Ministry of Youth and Sports? What are those functions would now go to the TVET Commission, or the TVET Commission would just have oversight on curriculum development, making sure that the teachers are trained the right fit, harmonizing everything in the TVET sector, the qualification of the TVET practitioners, and all of that. If that is only going to be their purpose, then the stakeholders have to agree on it. Both
Thank
the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the
you.
Ministry
Mm-hmm.
of Education, the legislature, and all of the players in the TVET space, we all have to consult and agree on something.
Thank you. Thank you. Earlier, you wanted to talk about funding. So let's talk about funding. But let me throw something there from the government into. I know you have the
Mhm.
European Union. They talk about, I think, the Swedish people that are trying to help, So let's talk about funding. But let's start with your government in terms of budgetary allocation to the Youth and Sport Ministry TVET program. How has that been going so far?
Uh, yeah, in terms of budget, I will come to that, but shortly, let me
Okay.
address. I think he raised one point that
Mhm.
has to do with we training people before we can find job for them and those kind of things. When we started off the conversation, I mentioned demand driven
Mhm.
TVET. So we cannot be training carpenters when the market doesn't need carpenters. Okay, we cannot be training say somebody to fix hair when the people do not want to plait their hair or something like that. So I'm just
Maybe the
saying
people
that.
are hungry, they're looking for food, they don't want to do their hair, right?
Okay, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that before we train now, this is part of the consultative process that we are having. We got to have consultation with the market. Okay, those who are playing the construction engineers, the Association of Liberian Construction Contractors. We got to ask them, what kind of skill are you looking for? What kind of employee are you looking for?
Mhm.
The Liberia Electricity Corporation. We got to ask them, okay, those of the young people you employ here, what kind of skill you want?
Mhm.
So when we have those kind of conversation, we and get what they're actually looking for, we have to include that into the curriculum so that the young people graduating are readily available to go and work in those different sectors. So that is exactly what we are doing, and we are not training people who are not going to be ready for the job market.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. You
And
wanted to
to the
speak to
question,
that budget thing from the government?
Anthony, I will tell you that the government has stated uh, that there is economic constraint in the country. Okay, every sector of the Liberian economy has some kind of constraint.
Mhm.
There are competing priorities. TVET is a very important priority. There are other priorities too. So all of those things, the government, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, they have to ensure that the little funding that is available is kind of applied to all of the different priorities. Although we do not have the needed funding
Mhm.
in the national budget,
Mhm.
but we are making some strategic intervention. That is why the president is moving around and asking partners, multilateral and bilateral partners, to help. Okay, the president went to France and spoke to his counterparts there, and as a result of the president's visit to France, we also had a $10 million grant coming to the TVET sector.
Is that
That
$10 million has been coming? He has not reached yet, Peter?
No, the $10 million, it was just late last year, that we had a discussion. The team from France came, and the minister and our team, we had a discussion with them, and we had just been in the program development phase of it. Actually, we needed to proceed
Mhm.
to the signing of the grant between the French and the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. So once that is done, and all of the program, the development of the program, everything is done, we go straight into the implementation. Okay, so all of these things, the U Rising project, the implementation is ongoing. So the French money, the $10 million, the only thing that has slowed down the pace of this whole arrangement is the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, I was speaking to the
Peter,
representative.
Peter,
Yes.
let me. I need to ask this question. So, what is the budget of TVET? I mean, we have a national budget, right? And you are the head
Yeah.
of the TVET, the Ministry of Youth and Sport. What is the budget? This is a very, very critical component. And mind you, you have the PAPD. What is the budget of TVET, and how is TVET contributing to the success of the PAPD?
Well, I will not be able to give you a total sum of what the budget is for all of the TVET work that we do in the country under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And the Ministry of Education, because this process is it is a combined effort by
Peter,
these
why
two.
will you, the minister for TVET, not know the budget amount? I know my yearly income because it's
So,
under me. How will you not know
okay.
that, Peter?
So you cannot say I do not know, because we have different institutions that are budget for the Monrovia Vocational and Technical Institute. There is an amount in the budget for the MVTC. There's
Mhm.
an amount in the budget for Julie Joa Vocational Training Center, for Clay Vocational Agriculture and Vocational Training Center. So all of those different sum, all of those different amounts sum up to what we've been using as our intervention from the government, but actually utilizing support from our bilateral partners in our TVET sector. So you can ask, I can open my computer and explain everything to you bit and pieces, but you don't want me to give you a number right now that later on you're going to check and it's going to be wrong. Okay. But I know that money is going to all the different sectors, all the different TVET institutions across the country. Okay. And
And
that is
and
being
and, and,
supported.
and and Peter,
That is,
Peter, hold on, Pete. The reason I'm asking is that
yeah.
people tend to see how serious or challenge your department is, knowing how much you are operating with. For example, let's say if you disclose here that well, our yearly budget since we took over has been, let me, $2 million. A donor country listening to that said, tell me, looking at Liberia population, I think some people put it at 65% youth. And we know that the illiteracy rate in Liberia is far above 65%. So that person is able to visualize that this is a critical area that is underfunded. And so they will be able to come and put some funds in there. So at least you should have that amount. That's something you should have to your fingertip. You may not know the specific for that agency and that agency, but you got to know the dollar amount.
Well, answering, I do not know why the budget for
Mhm.
TVET, for the Ministry of Youth and Sports, is particularly necessary. But I can tell you that we have a little over eight
It is
hundred
necessary
thousand.
because if you don't have money, you can't work.
No, we have a little in the budget. We have a little over $800,000 that the national uh, government, the Ministry of Finance, the legislature, and us working together to enhance in the next fiscal period, so that that money can go uh, to new TVET work across the country, so that we can be able to reach out to the private TVET institution. Because as a government, part of our responsibility is also to reach out
Mhm.
to the private TVET institutions,
Right.
and that is why in the development of this French money that is coming, we are
Mhm.
also putting in some private institutions
Okay.
to benefit, because it is the government responsibility. Okay, we can all of these projects cannot just go to government institutions. Okay, so we have a little over $800,000 that we're trying to enhance in the upcoming budget, so that we can do a better job for the Liberian
So,
people.
so, so, P, looking at that estimated amount that you just called, you see what is important for you to disclose that. I mean, if I were somebody, having too much money now, I will be able to contribute. That's a joke for now. The thing is, Pete, your government, PAPD, I don't remember the specific amount you may do that. I think in the 6 year period, you are going to create like what? Is that 5 million jobs? And
Yeah.
if you are to create jobs, it is with the youthful population in the country. That falls under the Ministry of Youth and Sport. And you can't employ them if they don't have the skills. So if the government is allotting around let's say $800,000 to the TVET program, how is it possible that you're going to achieve your goal of employing about 5 million people within the 6 year period according to your PAPD? So that shows to me that your government is not putting enough money in there, and so you have to find other sources to do that.
Yes, definitely. So we have to work with the partners. The government, the president is aware. The president knows that, and he has stated this time without number that youth unemployment is a threat to the national security of the country. So that is why the president is trying to do everything to ensure that young people get the kind of skill, they get the education that they need to be able to better themselves, to better their lives and their families, so that they cannot serve as a liability to the society. They cannot serve as a threat to the national security of our country. And so this is why, knowing that the national budget for this sector, as inadequate as it may be, the president is reaching out to the European Union, reaching out to the French, reaching out to the Swedish. Okay, those are three important partners that continue to intervene in the TVET sector. All right, so if the combined intervention right now, the French, the Swedish, the European Union has already given about $32 million plus $6 million from the Swedish government. Okay, an additional $10 million from the French. So that is a huge sum of money that is going toward uh, uh, making sure that the TVET sector is modernized, the modernization of this TVET institution. Okay, if the government had money, if the government had money, if the government had all that money, it could do it also with some support from the partners. But the government is reaching out because at this point, we do not have all of the resources to do everything that we want.
All right, P, thank you. That let's move forward. But the reason I thought to stay a little bit on this question is, look, if the government must achieve his ambition goal of employing about 5 million people in 6 years' time, it gotta be the youth, and it start with the
Yeah.
training, and that our government is not able to commit at least a $1 million. Let's look at Speaker Buffer Chamber budgets in million. Let's look at the office of the president. It's around 15 million
No,
plus.
we cannot. We That
No,
is
no, hold
why I
on, P.
told
Hold
you
on, P. You
that
will come
that
in.
is why no that
Hold on, P.
Anthony,
You will
that is
come
why
in.
I told you that is why I told you that the government, the president has recognized that this is a very important, not to
And let
cut you
it
off,
be
Anthony.
recognized in the budget. Let it be recognized in the budget. Can the
It is
president recognizing this this oversight, for let me intellectually eloquent about it. Let's say it is an oversight. All right. Can
look,
the president make a decision
Anthony.
that, what? Our youth to be employed, they must first have the skill, and it must be done through the TVET program and other programs that are intended to give them skills. So let's put millions in that place. And then, so you're asking your partner for millions, but you yourself can commit millions to the most critical sector of your country. And that's why I'm pushing you on this one. But we got to move on. Your
Anthony,
final thoughts. Mhm.
Anthony, there are many critical areas of
Mhm.
our economy.
I agree.
The health sector is critical.
Mhm.
The education sector that the TVET form part of is critical.
Mhm.
Okay, the roads construction.
Mhm.
Okay, our bar roads in the country, that's a critical sector.
Mhm.
Okay, so you have to understand that as a government, the president and the Ministry of Finance, they are taking strategic steps
Mhm.
towards ensuring that the competing interests of government,
Mhm.
all of the different interests that we're talking about, they are competing. So the government has to reach out to everybody. And
Mhm.
in that reach out,
Mhm.
given the revenue envelope, given the way our revenue is performing and the kind of money that we are getting, so we'll be able to get what so if they give me $1 million, okay, if the government give me $1 million or $2 million, what if the revenue is not performing to make sure that I get that kind of money? So this is why we are stretching our hands out, and we are telling partners that we are serious about this thing by trying to enhance what is in the budget for TVET over the next period.
All right, Pete. Thanks. I have a caller here that may have a question for you. Let me take that caller quickly. Again, folks, in cyberspace, This is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C. hosting. This is our program, The Hour of Politics. But today we are trying to understand the roles, the responsibility, and the work of TVET. That is a department at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. And TVET is the technical and vocational education and training. The minister there who oversees the work at that department is Mr. Peter Bemah. We have a call on the line. Caller, your name, where you joining us from, and quickly to the issue. Caller, are you here? Hold on, Peter. The caller is not paying attention. We got to move on there. We got to move on here.
Hello, I'm here. Hello.
All right.
Hello.
Quickly, yeah, quickly to the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here. My name is Bill Rogers. I want to appreciate the minister, Peter Bemah from being on show, And I hear a lot of people asking a lot of technical questions, I know we Liberians, we are very good in asking questions, but coming to support, we are weak in supporting. And I respect the men that are doing a lot of projects in local country, raising that X amount of dollars to put into Liberia sector. That is a great idea. I really do appreciate him as well. And little bit, and I know things have been very tough, and running program in Liberia is not an easy task.
Right.
I see people asking, what is the budget? What is the budget? Pressurizing the minister to tell you what he have in your closet at this movement, which is cool. It's a public event. But I think when the time for auditing, you need to check on the website of the TVET website to see all the auditing reports. But at the time, we're talking about national detail and what the TVET program are doing right now for the young people of Liberia and what is the legacy that the minister want to leave behind. Because we're looking for tangible results, fundamental results. I was trying to say the strategies plan that the TVET are using currently, apart from the government budget, what are the fundraising strategies they're using to reach out to diaspora or international, apart from just relying on government budget? That's one of my questions I'm trying to raise. And I want to see what the TVET program is running in collaboration with the education department to see how best we can build a tangible program that if tomorrow no TVET program, we won't see the minister to leave back. He said, this is what I did when I was minister at the TVET program. What is a tangible thing, goal in the mind? Number three, how many counties the TVET program is established currently? Those are my suggestions because I see a lot of young people on the street, up and down, and there is no fundamental base. If we don't have a base, we don't have a program. That is my concern.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Peter?
Yeah.
All right. Quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions, Bill. You talk about just relying on government. I have stated extensively that we are working with partners in the TVET sector. There are different partners in the TVET space. We're working with the French government. We are working with the European Union, the Swedish. We're working with Mexicops. Okay, so those are different partners that are intervening strategically in different areas in TVET. Okay, so he also asked about what our goal is. That is a question that I answered before, but I will let you know, Bill, that our goal is to ensure that all of the young people, those who are in the streets, the street young boys that people refer to as other names, we get those young people out, all of them, and put them in rehabilitation facilities, rehabilitation program to ensure that their minds are changed from what they have been doing so that they can think differently. And then after they are rehabilitated, we get them into the TVET program and train them and find job for them. Okay, we are working with these young people, and sooner or later, we will tell you that it's difficult to tell you that we're going to complete that with all of the young people in Liberia. Is kind of difficult, but I can tell you that we are making strategic interventions. The numbers in the TVET institution is mammoth. MVTC alone, right now, we have an enrollment of over 3,000 young people who are there. Okay, other institutions, the agriculture training institutions. So we're also trying to get young people attracted to agriculture. We're trying to get young people attracted to agriculture. The new Minister of Agriculture, we are working with her to ensure that we can develop programs for all of the agriculture training institutions across the country. The agriculture training institutions are in all of the regions, in the southeast, in the central region, and in the northern region. Okay, in the eastern region as well.
Thank you.
So
complete your thought. Sorry.
yeah. So we want to, at the end of the day, by the time the president completes his term, there will be technical and vocational training institutions, not only with the fact that those institutions will be there, but they are actually training and linking and being linked. The students are being linked to jobs. So those are things that we're doing. Linking the TVET graduates to job is a strategic focus, and we want to achieve that. We want to ensure that all of our graduates, about 80% to 85%, I know the number is ambitious, but about 80 to 85% of our graduates find job by the time they graduate from the TVET institution. That is something that we are working on, and we continue to do.
All right. Thank you there, Peter Bemah. Again, those watching us here, Focus on Liberia, we want to say thank you for staying with us. We are having an interview here with Mr. Peter Bemah. He is the Deputy Minister for TVET at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. TVET is the Technical and Vocational Education and Training at that ministry, and they are trying to train young people and give them skills that will allow them to learn employment, to contribute to their own lives and also to national development. And we are saying to you, all of us Liberians need to know what our agencies are doing for us, what their responsibility. If we know what they are supposed to be doing or what they are doing, and they're not doing those things, then we will be in the best position to hold them accountable. But if we don't know their roles and responsibility, and those of you or those of us who love to criticize, I'm one of those who love to criticize. How can you criticize somebody when you don't know what they're doing? Or if you don't know what they're supposed to do? So we must first be able to know what they are supposed to be doing. And when they are not doing that, then we are in the best position to hold them accountable. And they are also accountable to us by telling us their roles and responsibility. And we want to know how they are serving us. And that's what the minister is trying to do here. Mr. Minister, I will now let my audience know that we are moving to the final segment of this interview. And in this segment, we would like to get your assessment of the CDC government. You are in the government, you are an implementer, you are a policy implementer, and you guys are the one who should be doing the heavy lifting. And you have been paying attention. We want to hear from you how you think the government you serve in is doing. So, folks, this is the political piece of it. This is the hour of politics. We can talk the policy issues, but we got to talk the politics too. And sometimes the politics can hold back the things. And sometimes the politics can give you a unique understanding of how your people are responding to your work that you are doing. And so our phone lines are on the screen there. So, folks, it's time for you to call to interact with the minister to ask him the tough questions. He's getting paid by us, and so he needs to answer our question, and that's why we brought him in here. So let's start with your overall assessment of the CDC government. Let's look at challenges. Let's look at opportunities. Let's look at pluses and minuses. And then after that, we will look at whether there are some good, the bad, and the ugly, if any. So what's your overall assessment? It's been a little over 2 years now.
Anthony, on the overall, I must say to you clearly that we all know the challenges that the government is faced with, especially the financial challenges, especially the financial challenges. So it is important that as we have this discussion, we state that clearly. But amidst all of these challenges, Anthony, look around Monrovia today, look around Liberia, go to Lofa County, from Bond County to Lofa, travel that road and see what is happening on the road. Go to the southeast. Okay, go to the southeast from River G to Maryland. Travel in the southeast and see the roads. Okay, come in the communities in Montserrat County and see the kind of roads that this president is building. So, Anthony, this president is leaving a legacy. He is leaving a legacy that no other president in the history of this country have ever led. This president is interested in ensuring that our people are connected, farm to market roads. That is a priority. The health sector, the president is building new hospitals. Okay, you heard about the 14 military, when they were building the 14 military hospital, that was a discussion around here. Oh, you're going to break ground project that you cannot finish. Now, the same people that criticize the president are the 14 military for building the 14 military hospital are the same very people that are now, that we all are being housed by the 14 military hospital when we get sick, especially getting sick from COVID-19. So the president is making these strategic intervention in the different sectors. People come on Facebook and other areas and other medium and just talk. This president is focused. He is strategically focused on ensuring that the young people are educated. All of the numbers I just gave you in the TVET sector, if you did not ask me, you will not get, you wouldn't have gotten that information. But these are things that the president is doing. And he's always on the negotiation table, making sure that the interest of the Liberian people, the interest of the young generation count first. So there are a lot of, we cannot shy away from the challenges. Of course, there are challenges, but let's close our eyes on the challenges and look at the positive things that are happening in the country.
Peter, I don't want you to close your eyes on the challenges. And here's why, Pete. And as somebody who try to pay attention to politics a little bit, we always want to blow the political trumpet that is in our favor. And my sense is that when we do that, we raise the backlash thereafter because you give too much hope, ignoring the realities on the ground. I feel that when you tell your people, hey, this is the hole that we are in, and you need to know how big this hole is, and you need to know to get out of this hole, this is all we need to do. If you drive your people along that path, you'll be doing a better job. But people feel that if they tell the people that things are bad or things are not looking good, people will say, but then get out of there. And so I want you to talk about the challenges. What are the challenges that you are having at your ministry first and the government that you know of?
There are challenges. There are logistical challenges. The government came to power when, as a matter of fact, almost all of the vehicles at my ministry, most of the vehicles that were there and all the logistics uh, were either very old and could not be used anymore, and all those vehicles or things were sold by the general services agencies to those, because that there is a policy when you use the government car for certain length of time and it gets devalued, and you as a user or any other person in the government or the private sector can offer to buy that particular item and fix it to use it for their private use. So a lot of people did those things, and as a result, um, this government coming to take over in 2018, there were a lot of challenges in logistics and things like that. So some of those things slowed the pace of the work. that we started doing. But as things progress, we get into really get on track with some of the things that we needed to do. There are challenges, of course. I'm not shying away from the challenges, but I was just saying that, for a second, we should not just be focused on, oh, the government is not doing this, the government should be doing this, the people are poor, the people are doing this, the no hospital. Think about the hospitals that are being built. Think about the roads. Think about the schools that are being built. Think
So
about
how
the
many
teachers.
hospitals, to
Think,
your knowledge, are being built right
think,
now?
think about the doctors that have been sent outside of this country, the doctors that have been trained, that have been sent out of this country to specialize. Think about those kind of progress that the president is making.
Yeah, I was asking,
Okay.
how many hospitals do you know have been built?
Well, the 14 military hospital is one of the it's one of the hospitals that have been built. I know that other things have been done, but the 14 military hospital stands out as a significant project of this presidency. The JFK, if you go to JFK now, JFK is not like it was before. I take my treatment at JFK. JFK has changed. If you walk in JFK, you will be thinking that there is a strange place or something. So there are people in the management of those places that are actually working to ensure that this president and the government succeeds. There are people. I do not have the total information about the total number of hospitals that are being built, but I can tell you that the president intervention at 14 military is a remarkable project
All right.
that as a people we must always talk about in our discussions.
All right, Peter, let me bring my callers in and then interact with my callers a little bit. Caller with phone number ending in 2360, 763 over call. Please, it's your time to speak. Where are you joining us from? From Minnesota, your name?
My name is Tony Leeway, Tony Anthony. We have the same name, so thank you so much for having me.
All right, quickly.
I'm eager to know. The minister threw out a lot of, and I want to appreciate his presence on the show. Not many of our ministers come to give us information, but how do we authenticate what the minister is saying, versus fiction? For instance, you ask him about how many hospitals have been built, and he mentioned about the 14 military hospital and went to talk about JFK, which has been there since, as Liberian people say, 1900. I'm curious to know the progress you're referring to, if there's a number to attach to it to give us an idea as to what is being done. Secondly, since this is a general discussion, I'm eager to know what has happened to the 16 billion Liberian dollars and the 25 million map of money that disappeared mysteriously. And up to today's date, some of us have not heard anything about it. Does Minister care to mention or comment on those things, especially so with regard to given the fact that rather he talked about the economic envelope, which of course is a problem for the country. If such huge money disappear, is the government doing anything to investigate what happened to the money? And I'm just curious to know how these things are playing out. And what is the specific budget to his TVET, correct?
Yeah,
The
TVET.
program that he has at the ministry. What is the budget from the government to support the number that he mentioned? How many people have benefited? How many people are out of that program that are working? What is the statistics to support his ambitious plan? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bemah, please mark that down. Let me take another call and you respond to those two, okay? All right. Mr. Cisse Goya again, the educator is back on the line. Welcome again.
Thank you. I like this conversation so much so that I had to come back in, and I hope I'm not taking time from other people. And if I am, I apologize to people whose time I'm taking.
I think the minister appreciates that.
Mr. Minister, I want to say thank you for your appearance, for being such a useful person and taking on some of these tough tasks to help our country. But I want to go back to education. Even though we're talking politics, education is also politics. I don't want to ask the minister questions that about 16 billion, other thing that I'm sure he's not going to adequately address because it is way outside of his purview. But one thing I want to stress before we get to that is that budgets are moral documents. I want the minister to know that budgets are moral documents. You fund what you find morally acceptable to you. And so when the minister talked about competing needs in all of the various branches of government with limited resources, I would say again back to him, if the president truly believes, if this government truly believes that youth unemployment is a threat, it's a national security threat, then the government ought to be funding. But you can't just say this is a threat and you don't fund it, and that tells us that that is not a priority. So in economics, you know that when you have competing needs, you prioritize. That's basic economics. And the fact that the minister will come on here and tell us that he has not summed or he has not totaled all of the different revenues that are coming in to help him tells us, gives us little confidence in the ministry. Because you're teaching people mathematics, you're teaching people how to add, how to subtract over there. And if the head of the vocational institution cannot add up all of his revenues to come and tell us an amount, that is a little bit scary. But having said that, Mr. Minister, I want to move on to your TVET program. One of the questions I got for you is, you kind of muddied the water a little bit when you talk about formal versus informal. You quite didn't tell us exactly what is the difference, what is the clear difference between formal and informal, because you listed MVTC. Well, MVTC does have teachers, does have educators, and they have curriculums. So if you have teachers and you have curriculums, that is still formal. And so if that falls under informal, then what is the difference between that and say the KRTTI? Because I know there are students who graduated from high school that go directly to MVTC. My little brother went to MVTC after graduating high school. And I know other people who went to Kakata Teacher Training Institute, KRTTI, right out of high school. So are we also saying that KRTTI, by your definition, if you're going to put MVTC, because again, KRTTI, he went there to learn only teachers, right? That's also vocational, to get their C certificate or their B certificate. So if you're going to be putting MVTC in the bucket of informal, you're also going to put KRTTI in the bucket of informal. And if you can put KRTTI in the bucket of informal, since I know there are people who graduate high school and also go to BWR, will BWR then also be placed in the bucket of informal? Again, back to my issue of the duality of roles. When you try to talk about the budgeting area, you talked about how there were some things the Minister of Education was handling and you were handling, and that just speaks to the confusion on the duality of the roles. The last piece, I wanted to make some recommendation because I don't want to be one of those people who come on and just chastise you without giving some recommendations. When I talked about trying to make sure that you have curriculum that are tailored to organizations and to entity, you made a reference about, if we need carpenters, we go to the Carpenters Association and ask them, yeah, that's fine and good, but are you putting in place situations where you have customized training that fits specific organizations? So say, for example, LEC, as an example, I'm an electrical engineer also, so let me just put it out there. They have certain instruments, yes?
Mr. Goya, you're trying to overload this thing for the minister. Please make it sure.
No, I want to minister. So let me learn real fast. Please. So if you have certain tools and instruments at LEC, and you have certain different kinds of transformers at LEC, and you need people to work on them, then what you do is you go to LEC and say, look, what are the specific tools and that you're using that you need people to learn how to use? If they're using Caterpillar, for example, to grid goals, and you need people to learn on Caterpillar as a customized tool. Then you train people for that and you give them to those organizations. You're not just training people who can fly hair without knowing whether the market is in for synthetic hair or for human hair. Because if you just train people, they just need hair product, but you just train a bunch of people for synthetic hair when people need human hair, then that's a waste of resources. So that would be one of my recommendations I make to you and I will land because I know Anthony is saying I'm overloading you and I want you to do justice to my question. So I will get off the line.
Thank you, Mr. Goyat. Mr. Minister, address those issues and then I'll read comment and then we will close.
Let me start with Mr. Goya. It appears Mr. Goya was not listening to the show because I stated clearly that, by demand-driven TVET, we have to ensure that we have consultation with the stakeholders in the TVET market. And I mentioned specifically, he came to talk about LEC, and my specific example was LEC. If we are intending to send some of our trainees to LEC, we have to ensure that LEC form part of the discussion leading to the formulation of the curriculum in that area. Okay, so we have consultation with NEC to make sure what their needs are. And I said that, I explained that, what their needs are. The construction engineers, we talk to them to see what they actually want instead of just training carpenters, masons, and all those kind of people who the construction people might not actually want. So my thing was, or is, let us talk to the construction engineers to find out what are the kind of specific skill set. What are the skill sets that they really need? So as a result of that information, we tailor our training toward their needs so that our young people, when they get trained, they can be able to get absorbed by these people. So I hope Mr. Goya will not come back. I mean, it's important that we listen to the show as it's ongoing so that we cannot backtrack on some of the things. And he was being a little unfair when he came back because I gave information earlier that the Vonjama Multilateral High School is a school that is being funded by the government through the intervention of the Swedish. The rehabilitation and everything will be done by the Swedish government, the intervention of the Swedish government through the Youth Rising Project. He came to disprove that, and then when I gave the clarity on that, he didn't come to say, "Oh, the information was correct." I think that was unfair on his part. He should have at least stated that your information is true, so that we are on one page with the discussion. Okay. So the formal versus informal thing he's talking about, of course, MVTC and other vocational institutions, they have curriculum. Anthony, are you there?
I'm right here with you. I'm listening. I'm here.
Okay. I just want to make sure because okay. MVDC and other institutions, they do have curriculum. But these institutions are informal. Why? Because young people go there no matter what your level is, what your academic level is. You can even be a college graduate or a college student and go to MVDC to acquire skills. That is an informal environment because these people go in there and start straight with the practicality of the things that they want to do, hands-on training. Okay, they go there and do those things. That's why the space is informal. The apprenticeship things that we do, we also assign young people. We recruit and assign young people to different shops, different trade shops, whether it is sewing shop, whether it is carpentry shop, whether it's upholstery, or whether it is a construction firm. We recruit those young people and assign them onto those different areas so that they can serve as apprentices and learn some of the things that those people are doing so that by the time they graduate from those shops, they know exactly what to be done. They know exactly what they'll be doing when they get absorbed in the market. So some of those things that, it's a whole lot to be explained. We can go on and on and on talking about the intervention in the TVET sector. And I'm happy that he's also an educator. We will be happy to take some recommendations from him, so that we can better the job we're doing for the young people and for the Liberian people. To Anthony's question, he talked about 16 billion. Anthony still want to bring up a 16 billion question here. The government has said repeatedly that there is no money missing. No 16 billion missing. No 16 billion missing, Anthony. So The Minister of Information has stated that repeatedly. The Minister of Finance have stated that repeatedly. No 16 billion missing, and there were some processes that happened as a result of the printing of the money and things like that. And certain individuals are facing the consequences. They are currently in court for what happened. So no 16 billion missing, and the president, this government, did not just lay down the money issue that happened at the Central Bank of Liberia. There are people that actually that have been charged, and they are in court for their actions or inactions at the Central Bank of Liberia. Okay. And he also raised the question of authentication. Everything I have said can be authenticated. Okay. There are documents everywhere to support what I have said about the work that we're doing, about the projects that we are doing. So everything can be authenticated. We are not somebody who will come here to tell you anything that is not being done. Okay, you can also check with the European Union office. You can check with the Swedish government. You can check with Mercy Corps. You can check with all those partners. Those are people that we're working with on a daily basis. Everything that we do can be authenticated because, there is just so much transparency now that, no information about anything is hidden in the country under the George Weah administration. Okay, so yes.
All right, Mr. Bemah, thank you for responding to the concerns from my callers who keep me here to do what I'm doing. Let me read some comments quickly, and then I will get your closing comments. Marian Samuels, right? You lie. He 419, I don't know. He look like Down syndrome, I don't know. Let me leave that other comment there. You get girlfriend, so stop. We don't read this kind of comment yet. This platform is for education. So if you don't have anything educative or critical to share, please. What are you people doing about the rape case in Lofa County? The minister, we will bring the minister of gender here, or somebody from the Ministry of Gender to answer this question. Next Saturday, we'll have somebody from Gender Ministry. Focus on Liberia can guarantee that. Sese spoke. Let me see. Sese again. Yeah, he was able to express himself. I don't see that many comments here that you can, besides your partners contributing funds, what is allocated from your government? The minister spoke to that, not much coming from his government. He, said something around 800,000. He was not sure whether he even had the number right.
No, the number is right, and I also told you that the government is making effort to ensure that amount is enhanced, is elevated, so that more interventions can be made. So the amount is not just going to stay at the 800 that I mentioned.
All right. Then we have Kletu Tuba Rights. Play it safe, Minister, before you lost your job. We understand. Somebody say you playing it safe there. And so then we have Manja Tucson. Thanks, Honorable Minister, for your deliberation and vision for the TVET sector. You're getting some compliment right there. Thank you, Honorable Peter Bemah. You are extraordinary, influential young man at the ministry. Keep moving forward. Another compliment there for you. I'm looking for somebody who will ask a critical question. People cannot be celebrated for doing what they are supposed to do. Somebody is saying, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, why should people celebrate you? I absolutely agree with that. I don't praise anybody who working in government. When working in private sector, maybe I can praise you. Onismon Nimlin writes, but praise the government on the little one being done, not always raining criticism, though it comes all necessary criticism to make improvement. He writes here. I don't know whether he's talking to me. If you're talking about me, that is not my job. I don't praise anybody. If government turn Liberia to heaven, I'm not going to praise them because that's what it's supposed to do. That's how I think. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Dave Jar writes, I don't think Peter is responsible for how those functions are arranged. He is doing the job that he was handed. That person is saying Peter is doing what he's supposed to do. The arrangement, that's not his work. He made a system like that, and he trying to make the best use of the system to deliver some services to the best of his ability. Harris, Wright, yeah, Harry Wright, they are not listening, Mr. Minister. Some of them are on here just to disgrace you and your government. Be very mindful of them. Somebody saying those who are raising critical questions want to disgrace you. I don't think that is the goal. They're just asking questions. All right, just few comments there. So many of them, but those are the one I want to read. Mr. Biman, we can't thank you enough for honoring our invitation. But before I can ask you for your closing statement, I want to speak to my audience. Those who are here, for which I am here, you are the reason Focus on Liberia is doing it. We need to understand what our government agencies are doing. We need to understand as Liberians. If we don't know what they are doing, we will not be able to criticize, and those of us who love to criticize. And that is the intention of this network, to educate, to elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We must be educated about the roles and responsibility of all our government agency. And P just came from the Ministry of Youth and Sport from the TVET department to explain to us what they are doing. Now that I know that the government is allotting around $800,000 and Buffer Chimba is getting about $1 million, I know that my government is not setting a priority right. That is just my opinion. Because if you look at the youth of Liberia who need the technical skills so that they can be able to contribute to national development, I think that supersedes the work of the speaker. That's my opinion. But on that note, I will bring in my guest, the Honorable Peter Bemah, for his closing statement. Peter, we want to say thank you for honoring our call. Let's do this again. Maybe we can do a little more politics. And thank you for the work you're doing there. Continue with your work. What do you have to leave with us? Your final thoughts.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you. I'm honored by your invitation to have been here. The conversation I think was healthy. Thanks to the callers too for raising the kind of critical questions that they raised. I know that you keep focusing on budget, which is very important. And I can tell you that again, the government, this president, know his priorities, and one of the most important priority of Dr. George Manuel Weah is the young people. The young people. He focuses on the young people every day and in every discussion that he's having with the government and with the international partners. So this is not about not having interest. The president has strategic interest in the young people of this country. So we are working for the young people. I mean, there's a job that we have passion for. This is something that we accepted because we want to be able to intervene to help His Excellency and this government in this particular area so that the young people who need the skills, who need the kind of technical or vocational skills to be able to get some employment to better their lives, can be able to get a kind of employment. So I can also tell you that the minister, we have a very strong team at the Ministry of Youth and Sports that is headed by the Minister of Youth and Sports, D. Yoga Wilson. He is a very strong man, a team player, somebody who is result oriented. So we work with him, and that kind of person. When you're working with him, you got to make sure that everything, all of your results are coming out so that together the priorities of the government can be met. So again, I'm honored. I'm really honored to have been your guest today on this platform.
Mr. Bemah, again, thank you, and we can't thank you enough for sharing your understanding with us on the work that the Ministry of Youth and Sport is doing, or the government is doing at the level of the TVET program at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Folks in cyberspace, this is how we will draw down the curtains in this broadcast. Next Saturday, we will have here Minister Hassan Khan. He is the Deputy Minister for Research, Planning and Policy at the Ministry of Gender. Those of you who are raising questions about gender issues, the minister will be here, and we will go into the work of the Ministry of Gender, especially on the gender issue. Too many rape cases, we will talk about that. But today at 3 p.m., we will be having something we call FOL Marketplace. That is our business and economic forum here at Focus on Liberia. Tomorrow, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, those of us who love politics, we will be having a political debate. The debate will be between two outstanding gentlemen, George Lobo and Robert Gagwa, and they will be debating the Ellen government and the Weah government. Fundamental disagreement they both have when it comes to the two government, and we will be here. It will be a seesaw battle. You don't want to miss it. On that note, Minister, we want to say thank you again, folks in cyberspace. Thank you for watching. This is how we'll draw down the curtains, and we are leaving you with this song that says, "We are all Liberians." Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
We are Liberians.